Okay.
So that might be done if you
Yeah.
start the meeting.
I think rather than have everybody wait, I think I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Thank you all for coming. First item of the agenda is the approval of the March 29, 2016 minutes. Those have been included in your packet.
I'll make that motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any comments, questions, additions? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is call to the public. Anyone in the audience that'd like to come and speak to the board, take this opportunity to do so. We try to limit those comments to 3 minutes each. So, welcome anybody to come forward. Unfortunately, we don't have a microphone tonight due to our change in venue, but I'm sure we'll be able to hear.
Yep. My name's Jack Rampey, Lyden, Iowa. On March 29, I read a statement to the board about how we felt, landowners on side A felt about it, and plan on litigation and so on. There's been no comment from the board, so I'm curious to know what the comments are now, and if that's part of your impact study or not.
Well, I can tell you that the year comments were included in our minutes. I have a copy of them here. And I suppose if the board had any comments, they would have made them. So we appreciate your commentary and
Well, I don't think that's much follow-up on that.
the point of the call to the public is to get commentary from the public and not necessarily answer any questions. If you had specific questions, you can direct those to staff and we can get those answered. I didn't see any particular questions other than all I saw was a threat of litigation, and I typically don't respond to those. So
Okay. Well, I guess I can email you some questions then.
that's fine. You did earlier this week, and I responded to that regarding the agenda, and
Yeah, we did.
so
Okay.
that's what we do. Thank you. Anyone else?
Larry Van Manen. In the agenda, you're going to have a public hearing on the environmental assessment report. I'm curious how that assessment was done when, to my knowledge, none of the landowners have given permission to be on their land.
That's incorrect. There has been permission given by some landowners to get on the land.
But if every landowner needed to give permission before a complete environmental assessment could be done.
Well, when we get to that point in the meeting tonight, I'll ask Mr. Searle to address that issue.
That's fine.
Anyone else tonight? Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda, update on federal aviation planning studies. Jerry, you want to take that and maybe as a part of that, address where we are in the process? Mr. Van Manen's question, you could probably address as well, I would think.
Well, thank you much. We are in the process of working to complete the environmental assessment. And just to kind of recap, from our last meeting, I gave you a fairly in-depth overview of the changes to the EA document based on the various agency comments that we had received, as well as the FAA comments. Those comments have been addressed, and we are now working on the last concern, and that was the work and communication between SHPO, the State Historic Preservation Office, and the FAA. So, given that, I want to kind of spend a couple minutes just touching a little bit on and going through a timeline regarding the SHPO request work. And to...
For the benefit of the audience, SHPO Is who?
is the State Historic Preservation Office,
Okay.
which is located in Des Moines. If you wish to contact them. But just to give you a little bit of background, we finished the archaeological Phase 1A as well as the Phase 1 on the proposed airport site for those properties for which we had permission to enter. Those properties that we did not have permission to enter, the archaeological field work was
I've got
not
a
done.
question. I'd like to know the properties that you had permission to enter, and I'd like to see the written permission that you had to enter those properties.
Okay. I don't know if I can provide you with the written. I can give you a list of the names of the persons we talked to.
Okay,
And I'll
let's have
do
the
it
names
following
of
the
the people.
meeting. I think, I don't know if I have that information with me, but I can certainly send it to you. Okay?
No, that's what this meeting is for. You need to provide that information tonight.
Oh, okay.
Sir, he's answered your question. He'll provide that information. If you wanted to know it, you could have asked it any time in the last 6 months, and he will get you that information. Let's proceed.
In fact, I'll email it to you tomorrow. If
Okay, that's fine.
Very good. We finished that Phase 1 archaeological work, again, as I mentioned, on the property for which we had been granted access to. And that archaeological report was submitted to FAA. That work was done on January 15th. The FAA submitted the findings and the report itself to SCRAA, the State Historic Preservation Office, on January 27th. SCRAA reviews these draft reports as well as the EA document itself, and we received comments from SCRAA on March 18th, and they requested additional information. Primarily, our focus was on the existing airport sites, that being the Oskaloosa Municipal Airport, as well as the Pella Airport. And the reason for that is those airports are proposed to be closed. And since they are federally obligated facilities, that constitutes a federal action, and therefore we had to include the 2 existing sites into the EA document, and also perform any special studies that may be requested by the resource agencies on those respective sites. That being 2 types of efforts. One effort, again, being a Phase 1A archaeological site investigation. The other being a historic architectural reconnaissance survey of existing structures and facilities at those 2 sites. In addition to that, SCRAA requested that within the area of potential effect, or that area immediately around the proposed airport site, that the architectural evaluation be done within that area of potential effect as well. In addition, they requested additional information on the Pine Cemetery to include looking at the view shed. Should the airport be constructed, then their concern was the view shed from the Pine Cemetery, since that cemetery, as you will note in the handouts that I provided you, is eligible for the National Register of Historic Places, or NRHP. And possibly the dwelling and cellar on 220th may also be eligible, as is possibly the existing Oskaloosa Municipal Airport. When I say may, that means exactly what I say, may. So, given the request for additional study, then we authorized the firm that we're working with, Wapsie Valley, to conduct additional analysis of those sites for which they and have permission to enter. I can report to you tonight that as of about 4 o'clock this afternoon, I did receive an email, and the 2 additional studies that was requested will be overnighted to FAA, so they should have them in their office tomorrow. And then I will also receive copies, which we will give 1 copy for the administrative record to the agency. So what will happen next then is FAA will prepare and request an opinion from Chippewa on the additional request, and when they have about 30 days, and generally they take longer than 30 days, they have to pass, to respond to those 2 reports. From what we've been told, that we see and are not aware of anything on either the 2 existing airports or potential resources within the area of potential effect that cannot be mitigated, and so we'll wait to see what the determination is. We have met with Chippewa, FAA, and myself, and reviewed work to date. If, in fact, the sites are eligible for the National Register, then they can be nominated for the listing if they meet the criteria. And then secondly, we will address issues of constructive use, which is kind of a different concept. That means we don't have to directly impact something. For example, the noise footprint from the airport could be considered constructive use. However, we have done noise studies based on the FAA criteria. Our noise footprint and contour, which is a measurement of and adjusted for nighttime operations as well as daytime operations, both on opening day as well as what we would consider to be ultimate development in 20-some years. Our noise footprint does not extend beyond the airport land proposed for acquisition. Therefore, no noise impact. So the only other possible visual constructive use impact associated may be visual, and what we have instructed folks to do is to take photos, sketch in basically the proposed buildings and what they would look like, and those will be evaluated as well. So at this point, in communication with FAA, I think it's appropriate to move forward and consider reaching that point once FAA finds everything acceptable, and not until such time that we can release the document to the public for their review. You will have 30 days, no less than 30 days, to review the EA document, and then we'll provide opportunity for public hearing. And as I have mentioned in past meetings, once the hearing is concluded, we will take a verbatim transcript of all comments made. So those of you that attending this evening that certainly want to come to the hearing and state your comments and opinions and questions, we will then respond to them within the EA document. The EA, as I mentioned in the past, is a federal document. It's not our document. It's not the South Central Regional Agency's document. It is a federal document. It's signed by FAA. So that kind of gives you where we are in the process. And you may recall we talked about all these various impact categories, but the one remaining is the addressing the shipper. There are 2 reports that I provided for administrative records. I'm not going to pass these around, but I do want to call your attention to, and I did copy just the abstract and the recommendations and conclusions. So if you take the one that says reconnaissance level architectural history survey at 3 airport locations, and when I said 3, that means Oskaloosa and Oskaloosa, I will ask you to review those, and it confirms then, for the most part, what I have just reported on. And then if you look at the other one, which is the archaeological, and there's two different studies, one dealing with the structure, the architectural history, and the other, the archaeological part, that being the second one. And if you go to the last page, which is page 23, and if you look at the last paragraph, and I'll just read that, information contained in this report related to the nature and location of archaeological sites is considered private and confidential and not for public disclosure in accordance with Section 304 of the National Historic Preservation Act, so on and so forth. And the reason for that is if there are finds, of which we did have 3 on the proposed site that have been documented and submitted, one of which has been identified some many years ago. And so people don't go out there and start stealing them, digging up things and so on and so forth. So I appreciate you keeping this information confidential as is set forth by law. So with that then, that's my report. We hope to submit, FAA will most likely have the 2 reports we just received, or we'll get tomorrow, or they will get tomorrow. They'll probably send them out to SCRAA next week. SCRAA has 30 days to review those 2 reports, and FAA will then begin the negotiation process to develop a MOA, Memorandum of Agreement, between the federal government and SCRAA on addressing any issues that may need to be addressed, which will be included in the finding of no significant environmental impact at the time FAA would make that determination. So, therefore, we would hope to have everything, for the most part, wrapped up. It's going to be July 1. At the end of July, around August 1, and hopefully we can then give FAA an opportunity to review the document. I sent them one a week ago with all the changes to date, so they will have an opportunity to get a jump on it and start their review process. So all I have to do is add in additional shipment comments. So I'm hoping that we can wrap things up here this early fall, and you folks won't need to see me. So with that, that's all I have. Any questions?
So just to clarify, so the FAA will work with SCRAA if there are any questions.
Correct.
They work
Yep.
with 2 of their agencies.
Yes, it works with all, even the Iowa DOT, everything goes through the federal agency to SCRAA, whether it would be a highway project or an airport project or transportation project. And the reason for that is so there's uniformity within the process. Because of the consultation and agreement has to be between those agencies. So that's why that's done. As well as any agency. So there can be, what I said, I refer to it as a memorandum of agreement, and there's other processes that can be used as well, but that's what FAA typically uses. And I'll just say, if there's a difference of opinion between the 2, then what happens, it goes to the Council on Environmental Quality in D.C. for a ruling. So they may not agree, but it still doesn't end the process. So the NEPA process is truly a process. we just follow the process, and there's no time, you know, we make schedules out, and hopefully we move right along the schedule, but when people request additional information, then we have to provide that.
So later on this evening, and the next item is authorizing the staff to schedule a public hearing, but we will not, Jerry, correct, we will not be actually setting that date and time quite yet because we simply don't know that the FAA's process is completed on the EA.
Yes, sir, that's correct, yeah. So sometime between now and your next meeting, they will probably make that determination, which time then staff could identify a date to publish notice and then schedule the date for hearing. So we can get that out to the public. And then we'll also have the EA documents available at public places for people to review hard copy. And then I think we talked about maybe placing on websites rather thick as you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Put a PDF on the website or something. All right, anybody have any other, board have any other questions for Jerry right now? All right, and thank you, appreciate it. Next item is resolution number 16, entitled Authorize Staff to Schedule and Publish a Public Hearing Notice on the Draft Environmental Assessment Report. Mike, you want to give us a little background, one of you?
I'd like to defer to the mic draw, if I could, please.
All right,
Chairman,
thank
as you mentioned, the item in front of you tonight is an opportunity for the board to give us direction in a broad sense that once we do hear from the FAA that we can proceed with setting the date, issuing a notice of hearing for the draft environmental assessment report. Tentatively, based on previous discussions, we've scheduled the 29th of September as a hold date for the daily auditorium. And again, we've had hold dates before, and then based on what we've heard back from the FAA, we've had to move those. So that's the latest date that we have for now. I think we were hoping for an August, mid-August release of the draft EA, if all goes well.
Okay.
So again, this action that we're requesting approval on is simple, just to give us permission once we hear from the FAA to move forward.
Okay.
And the time frame that you're going to follow in setting that meeting will be appropriate to the way the rules are
Yes.
in terms of when the draft is given for public to see and hear and
We'll
get.
be contacting Jerry to make sure that
Perfect.
and the FAA to make sure that we're following their guidelines, yes.
I'd move that we adopt this resolution.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion or questions? We good? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Resolution passes. Any additional staff reports?
I don't have any.
Yeah, like,
Okay. Next item on the agenda is next meeting date and time, and that'll be the next quarter. Again, we'll wait to set that until we have a better idea of the exact timing of a public hearing, should we be able to finally schedule it and move forward on that. So, unless there's anything further,
There won't be any pending items before that. The public hearing is going to be the next.
that's, yeah, well, we may end up having a meeting before that
It's
public
possible,
hearing.
yeah. But we can do that. We set that up by email if we.
Yes, correct.
That works for you guys to do that.
Okay. Good. Okay. All right. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
All right.
Stand adjourned. Thank you.